Um, Actually, started practicing media in 2004. But I have a little science background. Therefore, my appreciation for the science reports and understanding is a bit better. I've done civil engineering. I have done environmental science on modern trend in mining. And it's because of what's happening in my country. Because there's a lot of mining activities affecting agriculture and other things, so therefore, I try to do more academic work in those regard rather than just focusing on the journalism. So sometimes I speak as an authority. About 12 years ago, I think GMO issue was more high in Ghana, and I thought I got the understanding. There is something in journalism where you state what is being there, and then you want to also state your opinion. After listening to the stories or the issues, you try to state your opinion. So after several workshops on GMOs and genetically modified things, I thought I had an understanding. So I was on radio saying GMO is the way to go. Then I go to church on Sunday not knowing there were people in my church listening to me on the radio and started attacking me that, I mean, what the hell? What were you saying on radio? I mean, so placing religion and science was a big problem. Apparently my father was a pastor too. I said was because he's on retirement now. So then, like, a pastor's son, stating, for them they think is the opposite of what religion believes and what science is talking about. It was a big issue for me going forward to say I come on radio and want to state my opinion, not just on this, but on most issues. But I think it's more critical to look at science and religion and how the people who feel more rooted in religion wants to accept some of these things. There are also a lot in our society, so we need to find a way out in there. Now, the sciences and issues of communication. I'm just going to address some of the issues that you have mentioned. Actually, that was part of my point. What the sciences are doing, it needs to be communicated. I think that there is a lot in Ghana. My science people should forgive me. There is a lot, I used to say this, there is a lot of documents on the shelves when you actually get to the scientists. And the question is it really out there for the people to use? I've done a lot in agriculture, so then I like to say this. So I used to ask this question, do we have a solid research base for agriculture in Ghana? I asked that. Would that be the same in Africa? The first answer would be yes. But over the years, has all these things been communicated to the general public? I can tell you a lot. There is a lot out there on their shelves. But whether it's being communicated is another question. And whose job is it to do the communication? I want to leave it as something for us to look at as scientists. And how do we get it done? We still have a few media houses committed to science journalism. It's also part of what you said. So in Ghana, you do not necessarily because they don't want to do it, but then the appreciation of science, and then again the issue of whether you go and write an agric story or any science-based story, whether your editor will be interested in publishing it, and whether issues of, would they have audience? If you post it on your social media platform, will they have followers? This is what the media is looking at. Whether people appreciate it, if I have top 5 stories to actually put on air, the agric or the science story, would it be appreciated? Would it be followed? Would it be interesting? So you find editors dropping it. Fortunate for me, I've been at top management, and then if you put such content on my table, I will push for it. But in areas where you don't have the editor's interest in science and some of these, content, it means that it will not be aired. it will not be discussed, it will not be pushed on the front burner. So I think it's a big issue that we need to find a way in resolving it. For me, I think if we have a lot of sponsorship, packages to be able to sponsor journalists to do more of science or, this, they come at the top in the media space, and I'm sure it would also influence what we publish and what we do. Most media people I have met on my job do not have science background, therefore they have a challenge appreciating science conversation. So it will look boring to them because they don't understand the conversation, even how to go and present it. You'll be surprised when people meet journalists on the street and they are rather the ones they are asking, so this GMO thing, what do you think about it? Unfortunately, that person too is empty. You see, there is this perception, I don't know how people got it, that the journalist knows it all. Therefore, they will meet you and say, Asamo, so what do you make of this? And the assumption is, oh, Asamo, have you seen this? Oh, have you read? But it doesn't really mean I have seen all that, I have read all that, I attended all those workshops. But the point is that I need to also say something because I don't want to be seen as an empty person or journalist. So I need to also say something. But the question is, what I say, does it really represent, or do I have that, authority to do that? But I think that we need to factor in how we engage the media in terms of getting them to build in. For my point here is the availability of the scientists. Are they really or mostly available, or you are always supposed to look for them, and where do you also find them? Sometimes you'll be surprised somebody has actually written an article or published something, and you want that same person to comment on. So that's what I said, two things. When the journalist is putting his opinion, actually is not supposed to carry as much weight as the authority speaking on the matter. These are two clear things. Like me, and come for this workshop, believe so well in the content you're presenting to me. If I go and I'm talking about it, the assumption, the way the people will take the content will not be the same as when I say I am introducing somebody who is an authority on the matter to speak to the matter. Once I get the person, I feel that the story goes well with the people. Again, the bureaucratic arrangement in engaging the scientists. You'll be surprised. Just sometimes in the general media space where you pick your phone and call a politician and say, I want to speak on this matter, and you are good to go. You want to talk to a scientist and sometimes write. Can you write as a letter? And so that's why in the morning I use this word, a bit frustrating. I'm not saying you're wrong. Maybe that is your system. It's like a letter needs to come, state this, why this conversation. So that's why I simply put there as the bureaucratic, procedure. Sometimes you might have a panel member discussion. The scientist was not part. Somebody may have passed a comment. It needs clarity before the content goes and damage control needs to happen. So sometimes you find somebody in production who quickly wants to call in an expert and clear the air on the matter. Just as we mentioned earlier, fact check. Somebody may have said something, even a caller. Sometimes it's not even a journalist, but the program is running, you activate phone lines, somebody calls and put up something. You feel like, no, like me, I feel like, no, this is not right. But it's not within my authority to argue the matter. I will have to get my producer to call in an expert, and then the expert is busy. I'm not saying you're not busy, but then the expert is busy. In some other jurisdiction, their communication will not allow this to go on unaddressed on that particular platform. So that's where I mentioned the issue of the bureaucracy in getting them to do stories, either you want to write or if it's a program. Science workshop would only or mostly invite the media to cover the opening ceremonies. So in most cases, you have a workshop for scientists, the media is invited. I've attended most of these. And after the opening ceremony with the minister, the director of agricultural science, the media and they would rather go and interview the minister and then they leave. Sometimes we even have a token for the media. We also give them that token and they leave us. And then we continue with our 3-4 day workshop without them. And after that, you realize that, okay, thank you. You realize that it is the opening ceremony that was captured, but not this important content that was done within the 3 or 4 days that will come out as a publication. And then everything goes bad. But I'm currently seeing efforts by scientists or the Science Union, as in radio reports, people in the media space in Ghana doing a bit well in trying to do good coverage. We have a media group on science in Ghana, so mostly when events are being organized, they are the ones they contact. Now, the conversation should look at more local language when we want to do something. Because myself, for instance, the radio station I work with is local language. We don't speak English. So how do we communicate some of these things in there? So we should also look at it. Scientists should include media communication to the budget. So if you are working on any project, anything, as a scientist, maybe on RISE or something, you're seeking for sponsorship, I think that in your sponsorship package, in the phases of what you want to do, place communication media thing in there so that it doesn't look like when you are done with your content, now you can't communicate your content because there is no budget for that. Then it means like nobody is talking about the good thing you have done. So if we could look at it, I think basically that's what I have. At this point in time, it looks like because of time. So I'll say thank you very much.
Thank you so much.